All right, all right. 100. I know it's been a minute since I came to you. I know we got a lot going on as far as community work, as far as political mishaps, injustice. It's always a lot going on. That's just life. That's just America. That's just a capitalist society. Um, I know I don't post videos every week. I don't do the consistent post, and that throw a lot of people off because a lot of people is about consistency, and they feel that you should be up to date, posting videos every week. And I respect people who do that, but I'm a 100% real volunteer activist. So I don't just do things just to be a people pleaser. I do what's necessary. I'm a vessel above anything. That's why I'm a volunteer activist. I don't do this for money or fame. I do it for our empowerment. I do it as for what I owe to humanity. For what we all owe as a human is our community service, our humanity outreach. So that's the whole purpose of why I do what I do. And with that being said, let's get right into it. We have a lot of different issues, and that's the reason why I, finally decided to come and do another podcast, if you will, if that's what you want to call a podcast. We dealing with things that's on the federal level. We're dealing with things that's on the city level for me, Atlanta, the county level for me, that's Fulton County, and the state level for me, that's Georgia. So we have a whole lot of issues that concerns my fellow residents on the city, the state, and the county level, and for my fellow American citizens on the federal level, dealing with the budget cuts for different programs. So I wanted to address all of these different issues respectfully in order. So let's start off at the federal because that is affecting everyone in America. And I know a lot of people feel like that it's just a issue with the low income, the homeless, maybe even the moderate income. But anything that affects one citizen affects all citizens because of the mental response. When you're dealing with something that's traumatic, when you're dealing with injustice, it leaves you in a traumatic mental state, and it causes you to naturally react in a less than humane way. So to break down what I'm saying, when we're dealing with talking about the budget cuts, cutting programs like Section 8, Medicaid, Medicare, anything that's dealing with the outreach for low income and homeless fellow residents or American citizens, we're leaving the gate open for crime. That's the main thing. We're not even talking about the personal suffering they have to deal with, which is very important. But what we're going to talk about that relates to all of us is this. When a person is hungry, when a person back is against the wall, they don't have the luxury of having that moral compass, that a comfortable person has. When you're back against the wall, when you're not eating, when your children are not eating, when your loved ones are suffering, your mind, your mental state, it's not of the mental state that a normal, productive American citizen would have. Your mental state is survival. You're in survival mode then. When you can't trust your elected officials, when you can't trust the government, the people that you pay to govern our society, to make sure that we have a productive society, when you can't trust those people, that's a traumatic experience, and that puts you in survival mode. So that's why it's so important. And I always stress this with all of my fellow humans and my fellow American citizens. That's why it's so important to get involved into politics. A lot of people tell me I don't do politics, Lee. Activist Lee, I don't do politics. And I tell them, if you don't do politics, then politics are going to do you. And that's the real. That's the 100 now. We don't have no choice but to be involved in politics because politics control every aspect of our life. It's nothing that you're doing today. I guarantee you, it's nothing that you're doing today that is outside of politics. If you're a parent, if you have a job, if you're a criminal, everything is politics. So that's why I stress that so much. I tell people, you cannot get away from politics. Only ignorant fools try to ignore politics. That's why we suffer so much, especially us as Black people in America. We have this whole mentality that we are outside of politics because we have been done so wrong, because of racism. This is a white man's world. No one really cares about us. And we always have been neglected. And there's some truth to that. That yeah, we always have been neglected. We have dealt with the harshest sides of systemic racism. True. But that does not mean that we have the luxury to not understand and learn the grounds that we walk on, to not understand the order and the legal side of the grounds that we walk on. We should be, because of racism and systemic racism, we should put politics at the head of our list of our success. Not just getting money, not just, buying expensive items, which is a slave mentality. We'll get into that later if we have time. But not just looking like we are successful. Success for us should be mastering and understanding politics. And second to that should be our unifying. We should be coming together. These hard times should bring us together instead of keeping us separate with every man for itself. But that goes back to the manipulation that our ancestors suffered through legalized chattel slavery, those almost 300 straight years of legalized chattel slavery. And that's why we still have the same mentality today, because we never addressed the Willie Lynch effect. We never addressed the traumatic experience that our ancestor was forced to suffer through during legalized chattel slavery. That's why we're still lost today. Time don't heal all wounds. I tell people that all the time, because that's what I was told by my grandmother and other elders. They said time don't heal all wounds. You have to face it. And we never faced it. We always just covered it up, put a Band-Aid on it. We never really hit. It's like if you got a wound that needs stitches, instead of going to get stitches, you put a Band-Aid over it and you hope that it heals, but it don't never heal. So you keep putting another Band-Aid on, another Band-Aid. That's what we do as Black people in America. We just keep putting Band-Aids on our problems, that historical problems that need stitches. They need to be addressed. We need to face it. Face it and give it time to heal in the proper way. So that's our problem. We the people. We the people. We got to focus on we the people. So let's get into it. I started off talking about the budget cuts with different programs. Now, let me say this, and I'm 100% honest. I don't fall for the ignorance of support the Democrats or the Republicans, supporting political parties. I thankfully to God that I'm not that ignorant or that stupid to fall for that manipulation or that hype. So with that blessing, with any blessing, come great responsibility. And my responsibility with that blessing is to share the knowledge with you all. No American citizen should be focused on taking sides with political parties. That's our biggest mistake. You never take sides. Political parties are established for us to have a democracy, to make sure that there is a multiple choice way of thinking when we're dealing with legislation and policies. So sometimes you may agree with Republicans, sometimes you may agree with Democrats. You should never be one-sided. To be one-sided is to be ignorant. To say I'm a Democrat or a Republican is to say that you are a politically ignorant American. That's what that means. Anytime you hear a person say that they're a Democrat or a person say they're a Republican or they're a liberal or what, if they all out 100% go with a side, then you know you're dealing with a politically ignorant person. If you're talking to a person who say they don't do politics, you know you're dealing with a politically ignorant person. That's what that means. Because an educated citizen in America has no side. There's no side. There's only justice for us as a whole, as a people. Now, the crazy part about that, when I say that, it gets complicated. And I hope you can follow me on this. When we talk about justice for all people, we know that all people are different. We have different racial groups that have different needs. We have different social groups that have different needs. So what that means is, on different degrees, there are certain things that help this group that may not help another group. So it may, if you're white, if you're white of European descent, American, there are certain things that may help that group or your group that does not help my group, which I am a what? Descendant of slavery. I'm a Black American. So the things that help this group may not help that group, and vice versa. So, and depending on my social status, say if I believe in gun laws, if I'm a part of a gun group, organization, or a militia, or whatever, just throwing it out there, there's certain things that I may look for that the Democrats are supporting, that I will support, that based on my racial group status and my social group status. And you only have one racial group, but you can have different social groups. You may be into gun laws. You may be for it. You may be into real estate. That may be your group. You may be a real estate mogul. So what's going on now may help you, the real estate crisis, and you're going to look for legislation on either side, whether it's Democrat or Republican, that you're going to support based on your real estate mogul. Now, I may be a low-income tenant, which I am. I'm a low-income, poor person. So I'm not going to agree with you on those bases. So the bills that you support or the legislation you support, I'm not going to support. That's a democracy. That's America. And we should still get along as American citizens at the end of the day. Even if we don't support the same legislation, if we don't support the same bills, because it's all about what? We the people. That's what matters. We the people as American citizens. That's the highest form of government. Or what is written in the Constitution, we the people. That's what matters. See, we the people. So dealing with that on that federal level, those are the things basically what I would leave it at. I go deeper in another conversation, another podcast about Trump or whatever, what the government is doing on the federal level, which I rarely care about because it all trickles down to BS. Even when they talked about taking the funding from these different low-income government assisted groups and giving the power to the states. Now, when you get out to the states like Georgia, Georgia has the worst track record of dealing with low income. It's a red state. It's a Republican state. So I'm not saying putting all the pressure on the Republicans, just, going against them, but I'm just talking in facts. Even the Democrats in Georgia have a bad track record of helping homeless, helping low-income residents of Georgia. They are usually thieves. They usually steal the money. And you don't have to just take my word for it. Ask for a financial report. This is a public report. Ask for a financial report of any year that any group in America, any nonprofit, any municipal, which is city, a county, has taken in money to help the homeless. Go and find an itemized financial report and see how that money has helped the homeless. If the money has helped so much without you even doing that, you'll understand that we should be having these problems that we have where we get more and more homeless and less resources when we have all this state money coming and federal money coming down to the states from our tax dollars. This is our money from our sales tax coming back to us. We're talking about billions of dollars allocated across America to homelessness. And everywhere you look in America, homelessness is getting worse. You can point any location. You can't show me one state, one city, one county in America where there's a solution for the homeless problem. But you can go and look at the financial records and show me where we have spent billions of dollars over the years, billions of dollars dedicated to homeless, and we haven't seen $1,000 worth of progress in all these years. That's what the problem is. So I encourage you to go do your own research. Don't just believe what I say. No matter what my credentials is, no matter about me being a volunteer activist or how long I've been doing it, me having a nonprofit or whatever. Don't just go by the hype. Don't follow the hype. Don't trust no one. I was raised like that. That's one thing I love about being raised on the west side of old Atlanta. We don't trust nobody. You got to present it with facts. We don't care about no talk. We don't care about none of that. It's your actions. Your actions is the only thing that hold up in old Atlanta on the west side. I don't care if it's your brother, your cousin, your mama, whatever. Mom, dude, I love you. Yeah, mom, dude, you say you love me. Where the food at? I'm hungry as hell. What the fuck? What a love? Why do you like so? Why would I flick this goddamn switch? I don't see no light. We about action, and that's the part of what make me a 100% activist. Because I raised in old Atlanta on the west side, we about all action. And all that talk stuff, it's good, but you gotta have your action to back up that talk. That's what I believe in. That's what I stand on. That's why I don't do no podcast every week. I ain't finna be all in your ear every week for no Facebook likes or no social media likes and just, running my mouth, just talking and yeah, this and that, so you can give me likes and I can get a couple of extra dollars on some monetizing. Man, come on, man. I might well be a house Negro. Come on. Ain't no way in the hell I'm gonna goddamn play myself out like that. All I done been through homelessness all my life, been in the streets all my life. You know what I'm saying? Had a chance to be with my grandmother who was a foot soldier, be around Jose Williams, I never did respect them like that and just be weak like that just to fit in or to get some fake recognition and a few extra dollars. And I don't care if I'm on zero. I never sell that. On zero, hungry, stomach touching my back. I never sell that. I don't even play them kind of game. 100. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way I can comfortably live where I can look myself in the mirror every day. That's the only way I can look myself in the mirror every day, knowing that I'm 100%. You see what I'm saying? That's how I roll. That's the Ghee. That's that volunteer activist Ghee. That's me. That's how I roll. So getting back to it. So we got the problem with the federal dealing with cutting the budgets, and my thing, even with cutting the budgets, I'm not mad at Trump so much for bringing out the reality that even the Democrats and every person who is a real activist or a volunteer activist or advocate been fighting on and talking about and struggling with, who is grassroots, is how every time the money comes down, it doesn't never help the people. That's something we've been complaining about. We've been complaining about that for years. Every advocate, every activist, way before my time, been complaining about that. How we get the federal funding, and then we got the Negroes that's, in office with the black faces, and they come and steal the money and they chop it up behind closed doors with the corporations, with the, the capitalist elites. And then they'll come to us when it's time for votes and they act like, that their skin gonna get them in. And majority of us fall for that foolish because we're not politically educated enough to see that they've been playing us the whole time while they've been sitting there, and we only see them during election time. That's our fault. As residents, as constituents, that's our fault. So the whole problem that I always stress is lack of education. We don't have political education. We're very educated people, speaking on us as black people. And it's nothing that we can't do. It's no field that we can't master. Even taking myself. I started getting involved in the political field. Never went to college for it, never went to school for it. But I actually get hands-on work. So I started going to city hall meetings. I started going to the Fulton County meetings. It took me 3 years to understand even what they was talking about. When they was talking about ordinances, I didn't know what an ordinance was. I didn't even know what legislation truly meant. I had heard the word, but I didn't know what it really meant. I didn't know what an OCG law was, a code was that's coming out of the Georgia Constitution. So it took me 3 years to actually catch on to all the stuff I heard, but thankfully, once I caught on, everything played back to me, and I was able to master it. That was just, spending time there. It took time, trial and error, to actually understand, because I didn't have nobody teaching me what it was. Like I said, I never went to school for. I ain't had no mentor sitting down with me like, this what it is, this what it is, and that's the blessing. That's the blessing of our connection with the higher powers, that we are very educated. We're vessels, and that's what led me there. As a 17-year-old kid from the old Atlanta West Side streets, out of nowhere, I thought you had to pay. The first time I went to City Hall, I thought you had to pay a fee, because I was supposed to go to City Hall. I had in my mind, this is when I first was, wanted to told myself that I accepted I'm gonna be an activist. I said I'm gonna save up $100, and because I don't know how much it costs to go to City Hall and to sit in the meeting. Because, like I said, we had nobody to tell us, what the 100 is, what the real deal is. I said I'm gonna save up $100, and I'm gonna go to a meeting, and that should cover whatever it costs. When them folks told me, when I got there was APD sitting there in the front of City Hall when you walk in on both sides. And when I went through the metal detector, I'm looking for where I got to pay it. Now I'm looking around, and they just, telling me, take everything out of pockets and, walk through the metal detector. I get my metal say, so where I go pay it? The police officer bust out laughing like, hey, young brother, this is free. You don't have to pay. But it just go to show, I didn't know. You know what I'm saying? It took me a month to save with that little $100 to the side to go to City Hall, because I thought I had to pay. You see what I'm saying? So we have to get politically educated. We have to get politically educated, because politics affect every American citizen, but it affects us to a higher degree because we have been dealing with the worst of racism and systemic racism. So we dealing with the city. We feel comfortable because we got black faces there, but those black faces are house Negroes. And I'm not saying that to be negative or to be disrespectful to any black person who takes the seat in office. I'm saying that because it's true, because we have no backing, we have no unity as black people. So when our people going around for office, they're good people. Some of them, maybe majority are good people, but they're coming into a system to where the only thing they're allowed to actually be comfortably is a house Negro, is a sellout. And if they don't be a sellout, who's going to back them? Not us. We're not even politically educated enough to back our good brothers and sisters who run for office. We're not educated enough or strong enough economically or politically to back our police officers, black police officers, who go on the force and have to choose the blue to be black. And 9 times 10, they got to go ahead and be blue. Because who gonna back them? Not us. We talk about them just for even joining the force. We already got to outcast them. So the best bet they got is to be blue. So this is what we're dealing with. We got a whole lot of knowledge, a whole lot of education. We complain about so much reparations and not. And I'm gonna break down reparation, and I'm gonna go ahead and end this podcast. I'm gonna leave on this note. The city, not the city, my bad. The country of America cannot give us as black people reparation for slavery. Let me say that again. America cannot give us as black people legally, cannot give us reparations. Reparations comes for a racial group. This is for a racial group. For a racial group, racial injustice, human injustice, reparations come from the world courts, the international justice courts. That's the only way you get reparations. Now, they can give us compensation. They can throw like what they've been doing. They can throw little trinkets at us and discounts on housing, financial little grant, a gift, or something like that. They can never give us the reparation because you know what reparations are? Look up the definition of racial group reparations. To give racial group reparations, you have to put a person back into the state they were before the inhumane injustice was done to that racial group. That means that they would have to go back to who we were, our ancestors were, before legalized chattel slavery. And I know a lot of us may not be educated on world history or American history at that point in time in America. But if you knew who our ancestors really were, you would know that it was impossible, first of all, for them to put us back in that state. And if you knew law, then you would know that it's no way, it's not legal for the same aggressor to give reparations to the victim. Now they can get compensation. That's just like if you steal somebody's property. If I steal my neighbor's property, I'm not paying off a lawsuit if I give him money for what I stole. I'm just giving him compensation for what I stole. It's up to the courts. Now, if I go to courts and a judge order me to pay this person back because I stole his lawnmower or whatever, then that's what? I'm paying off a lawsuit. That's what reparation is. It's paying off a lawsuit for an injustice. But it cannot be granted by the aggressor. It has to be granted for a racial group. Now, if it's an individual case, like say if I'm wrongfully put in prison and the Supreme Court wants to grant me reparation, that's allowed. But for a racial group, you have to go to the international justice courts, which is the world courts. That's how that works. And I'm going to leave you on that note. Any follow up, anything you want to talk about, or anything that you don't understand in this podcast, let me know. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Inbox me or whatever, and I'll be glad to answer any question. All right, 100. Y'all have a blessed one.